Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to One Woke Thoughts. We got a big show for you today. Big show. Yes, lots going on. A lot happened. A lot happened last night, guys. Lots happened. So it is, in fact, a big show today. Melania Trump. We don't hear from her much, do we? We do not hear from Melania Trump very much. Very classy lady. Tends to keep to herself in the background. So whenever she does come forward, it's a big deal. And she has come out, finally has broken her silence and addressed the assassination attempts on her husband, as well as the FBI raid of Mar-a-Lago, where she talked about how the FBI agents, went through her stuff. And she did not seem too happy about it at all. And you know what? I don't blame her. A bunch of feds rummaging through my private stuff, that would piss me off. Especially since they have absolutely no right. They have absolutely no right. This weaponized justice system. Just sad. It's just sad. She talked about that. Another thing that happened yesterday, it was towards the end of the day, it was an action-packed day. A lot of stuff, a lot of random stuff happened. Okay. Eric Adams was federally indicted yesterday. Yes, New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Yesterday evening, all of a sudden, boom, indictment comes down. And we didn't really hear anything for a while. And then he releases this recorded video statement saying that he is being targeted. And I know that Eric Adams is a Democrat, but honestly, I think I might believe him. Because I don't know if you remember or not, but Eric Adams actually came out hard against all the illegal immigrants flooding into New York City. And he's been an outspoken critic of the migrant programs. He talks about how this influx of migrants into New York City is just unsustainable. He even visited the border once not too long ago to try and figure out what the heck was going on with this illegal migrant problem. So he was kind of pushing back. And it was a big mistake. And this pushback, of course, on something that the rest of the Democrats aren't even questioning, at least substantively, they're not questioning it. They might talk about it, question it a little bit, but he actually took steps, right, in New York City. Big mistake. And it may have shown that he would not play ball. And we all know that Democrats eat their own. And I believe this is what is happening here. Kamala Harris had a disastrous interview on MSNBC. And by disastrous, I simply mean that Kamala Harris was being Kamala Harris. And that's pretty disastrous. That's all Republicans wanted. We just wanted Kamala Harris to go out there, just be herself, do an interview, and let the American people be reminded that this is who Kamala Harris is. This is her in all her glory. And we got a taste of that on Oprah, right? You guys remember Oprah? And we got an even better taste on MSNBC last night with this interview. It was glorious. I said the Oprah interview was disastrous. I think this interview was even more disastrous. But billionaire Mark Cuban has suddenly become Kamala Harris's biggest spokesperson. Yeah, just out of the blue. And he is saying that he wants to be the head of the SEC. So that's funny. This one's really random, though. Nathan Wade is missing. Remember Fani Willis's lover, Nathan Wade? Yes. Officials are trying to subpoena him. They're trying to serve him with a subpoena, but he's nowhere to be found. He's missing. It has even gone as far as Jim Jordan getting U.S. Marshals involved to try and locate him. But he has flown the coop. Wonder if they've checked Fani Willis's condo. I wonder if they've been there yet. I would check there. Check under the bed. Maybe Fani Willis has a secret compartment that she hides Nathan Wade in. But finally, Joe Biden also, he made an appearance. He made a couple appearances, actually. He went to New York, and then he was also the first sitting president who went on The View, or who has gone on The View. And on The View, he pretended to squash Trump like a bug. Yes. But before we get into the show, leave a like on this video. And also comment down below and let me know what you think of the show. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you want more of it? Do you want none of it? Let me know. Comment down below. And if you do enjoy the show and you're not a subscriber, smash that subscribe button, okay? But before we get into it, guys, as usual, go to mypillow.com/unwoke. Use promo code unwoke. The sale is still up. $14.98 for one MyPillow pillow. MyPillow, they're famous for their pillows. This is your one shot to get it for $14.98. Really good deal. Also, as usual, guys, I'm drinking my coffee from MyPillow. You guys are never going to believe how I drink my coffee. I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, I should tell them. I was like, no, everyone's going to think I'm weird how I like my coffee. I'm going to tell you how I drink my coffee, but you cannot say that I'm strange, okay? You cannot do it. I forbid you. So I drink my coffee. I put, the strange thing about it, that you're going to think is strange, I put a little bit of butter in my coffee. Like a little slice, butter in the coffee. I put a little half and half. And then I have one of those frothers. I put that in there. It's delicious, okay? It's delicious. Don't knock it till you've tried it. So that's how I drink my coffee. And I drink this coffee from MyPillow right here. Low acidity, certified organic, fantastic, robust, dark roast coffee. Some of the best coffee you will ever drink. But ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. Melania Trump went on Fox News where she gave an interview. She gave an interview about the assassination attempts on her husband's life. This is the first time she's really talked about it. I know she released a statement that addressed it, but this is the first in-person interview that she's given where she discussed the assassination attempts or the Mar-a-Lago raid for that matter. Listen.
The assassination attempts, the first one is in Butler, Pennsylvania. And you write about watching the assassination attempt on TV, and you started working and you were distracted, so you pushed pause. So you didn't see that first assassination attempt, and someone called you, I think your chief of staff maybe called you and said, he's okay, but there's been a shooting. What happened next?
I ran to the TV and I rewinded and I watched it. I was only a few minutes behind, and something, I guess, looked over me. So I didn't really see live, but maybe, 3 minutes, few minutes later. But when I saw it, it was only, nobody really knew yet,
right?
Because when you see him on the floor and you don't know what really happened.
And then a few weeks later, there's another attempt on your husband's life at your golf course. Where were you, and what was your reaction to this attempt?
I was in New York City, actually, and I saw it on the television. And as soon as I saw it on television, I called again. And he was okay, because Secret Service were great. The guys that they were with him, they were fantastic. And I think both of the events, they were really miracles. If you really think about it, the July 13 was a miracle, like that much, and he could not be with us.
Wow. What a classy lady. I say it all the time. Melania Trump, she's not like some of these people that get all involved in these wild activism like a Michelle Obama. That's where it's at right there. Donald Trump's a lucky guy to have that. A woman like that in his corner. that doesn't just embarrass the heck out of you. I mean, if I was running for public office, I wouldn't want like a Michelle Obama that got all like involved in activism and craziness. I would just want her to just, not be involved in politics. That would be me. It's like, listen, I got to deal with this crap all the time. And then I come home and you're involved in activism. Like, I want to come home and not have to worry about any of that crap, which is probably what it looks like the relationship Donald Trump has with Melania Trump. She seems to be involved in other stuff, which is a refreshing change. But she also talked about the Mar-a-Lago raid. Says that it made her angry and that they went through all of her stuff. Listen.
The raid on Mar-a-Lago, the house manager texts you and says the FBI is outside the house. They had access to my bedroom, closets, office, and rummaged through my personal items. Even searched Barron's room, you say. So how invasive was that? Did it make you angry? How did you feel?
Yeah, it made me angry. Yes, invasion of privacy. And the way it was done I was really surprised.
You wanted to see it for your own eyes. With your own eyes, what did it look like when you walked back in your house that had been raided?
I saw unpleasant stuff that nobody wants to see it. And you get angry because, nobody should be putting up with that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Some person, I don't even know who or how many people, they went through my stuff.
The raid on.
So they went through her stuff. I mean, we knew this already. But she's right. I mean, unreasonable searches and seizures, that's in the Constitution. And they trump up charges, weaponize the FBI, weaponize the DOJ to go after Donald Trump. And it's actually very powerful to hear Melania Trump come out and talk about this. Because, like I said, she doesn't come out very much. She doesn't talk very much. She's kind of in the background. But when she does do something, it speaks volumes, which you can see here. So just this interview, just her talking about this is going to raise some waves. Now, Donald Trump, he's always in the forefront, always talking about these things, always talking about the weaponization of government. But when his wife comes out from the shadows and she says it, that's just going to reinforce what Donald Trump is saying. And I think a lot of women are seeing this and they're starting to realize, wait, maybe this is not just Donald Trump out here angry about random stuff. Maybe this is not how our justice system is supposed to work. Maybe this is not how our intelligence agencies, the FBI, is supposed to operate. And maybe some of these women are starting to take this a little bit more serious because, as you know, women, a lot of them support Kamala Harris. I think Kamala Harris has the majority, more women on average that support her than Donald Trump. And now you have Melania Trump coming out and talking about how she had her privacy violated. For what? Why? Doesn't make sense. So hopefully that'll speak to a lot of women out there who don't take this weaponization of the justice system seriously yet, because I think that is one of the biggest problems that we have in our country today. But speaking of weaponization, Eric Adams is on the receiving end of some of this weaponization. Possibly. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't seen any charges. The indictment is sealed right now, but it is a federal indictment. But last night, the indictment came down. He will most likely be arrested. And very quickly, he released this statement where he says that he is being targeted for standing his ground to protect the citizens of New York. Listen.
My fellow New Yorkers, it is now my belief that the federal government intends to charge me with crimes. If so, these charges will be entirely false, based on lies. But they would not be surprising. I always knew that if I stood my ground for all of you, that I would be a target. And a target I became. For months, leaks and rumors have been aimed at me in an attempt to undermine my credibility and paint me as guilty. Just this past week, they searched the home of our new police commissioner, looking for documents from 20 years ago, just 1 week after he joined my administration. Enough. I will fight these injustices with every ounce of my strength and my spirit. My fellow New Yorkers, it is now my belief that the federal government intends.
Oh, it just started over. That was a really good loop. I didn't even realize it was at the end there. But so he's got the federal government coming after him. He's been indicted. We don't know what it is. The indictment is sealed. I think we all know that the federal government kind of picks and chooses who they're going to go after. They'll overlook some people if those people serve a purpose that serves their ends. But other people, they're going to target. And I would not be surprised. Now, I know that Eric Adams is a Democrat. I'm not a big fan of Eric Adams, but I did gain a little bit of respect for him when he was calling out the illegal migrant problem crisis in New York City. And he did even more than Kamala Harris, the border czar. He actually visited the southern border. I remember very vividly. This guy, Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, took a selfie in the plane on his way to the southern border. He's been very outspoken about this. It's a big problem. He went as far as to say the illegal migrant issue would destroy New York City. This is what he said right here. This is, I believe, just about a year ago. This is what he said. Listen.
New Yorkers, full support. And let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. One time we were just getting Venezuela. Now we're getting Ecuador. Now we're getting Russian speaking coming through Mexico. Now we're getting Western Africa. Now we're getting people from all over the globe have made their minds up that they're going to come through the southern part of the border and come into New York City. And everyone is saying it's New York City's problem. Every community in this city is going to be impacted. We got a $12 billion deficit that we're going to have to cut. Every service in this city is going to be impacted. All of us. And so I say to you, as I turn it over to you, this is some of the most educated, some of the most knowledgeable, probably more of my commissioners and deputy commissioners and chiefs live in this community. So as you asked me a question about migrants, tell me what role you played. How many of you organized to stop what they're doing to us? How many of you were part of the movement to say, we're seeing what this mayor is trying to do and they're destroying New York City? It's going to come to your neighborhoods. All of us are going to be impacted by this. I said it last year when we had 15,000. I'm telling you now, with 110,000, the city we knew we're about to lose. And we're all in this together. All of us. Staten Island is saying, send them out to Manhattan. Manhattan is saying, send them out to Queens. Queens is saying, send them out to Brooklyn. No. It's not the game we can play. Open the floor up.
Very strong words by Eric Adams. So when you see all of a sudden these federal probes start going into his campaign, his office, looking into things. Where did it start? Why did it start? How come? Why? Well, I would say it started from that right there. He started going against the grain. He started looking at the seed, the little sprout, the little seed of the problem, right? The bud. You know, they say nip it in the bud. He saw the bud of the problem of this migrant crisis coming into New York City. He's like, wait a second. This is an issue. And then he's before the board right here. And he's saying that this issue is going to destroy New York City. He's looking into the future and like, this is unsustainable for our city. This is going to affect all neighborhoods. This is bad stuff. While all the other Democrats around him are just simply being quiet about it. They're just throwing money at the problem, increasing the incentive for more illegal immigrants to come to New York. And he's here begging. He said, we got some of the smartest minds in this room right now. We need to figure this out. We got to figure out what we're going to do about this issue because this is unsustainable. We got 10,000 migrants a month coming into to New York City. We can't do this. It's going to overwhelm our resources. And that's going to reach into all these neighborhoods. So I think it's kind of suspicious that he is one of the only Democrats really pushing back, especially in New York City, on this crisis. And now all of a sudden he's being investigated and then an indictment drops. I 100% believe that has something to do with it. Because like I said, the Democrats eat their own. And it's not even about being a Democrat, really. What it's about is, are you part of the group? Are you going to do what the regime tells you to do? Or are you going to push back on it? Are you going to question the narrative, question the process, question what is going on? And Eric Adams did. He was a Democrat in a lofty position in one of the most corrupt cities in the entire world, New York City, or at least in the United States, probably the entire world, I don't know. And he stood up and he started making a big issue about what he saw was going to happen in the future if these migrants kept coming into New York City. He went as far as to visit the southern border. And he also slashed funding for illegal immigrants just 7 months ago. This is after he, made that big speech before the board, where he said this is going to destroy New York City. A few months later, he actually slashed funding for illegal immigrants. Check this out.
Mayor Eric Adams is dropping his next round of budget cuts for city agencies.
But cuts to migrant funding are still set to happen. Let's get right to Lizette Nunez. She joins us from Midtown with the latest. Good morning, Lizette.
Good morning, Dana Tashani. Well, yeah, this was pretty surprising. New Yorkers were bracing for that third round of budget cuts, but that will no longer be happening. Instead, the city will be slashing migrant funding further.
You're not going to see some of those draconian steps that we were going to have to take that's getting in the way of the cleanliness and the safety of our city.
Mayor Adams doing an about-face. He says New York City will not go through a third round of citywide budget cuts. Adams detailing the impact of his decision in an interview with WABC.
If we had to do the third rounds, it would impact garbage pickup. It would impact services to our older adults. It would impact libraries. It would impact a series of services that you would actually see the difference.
For months, the mayor had been sounding the alarm that due to the financial strain of the migrant crisis, the city would see cuts to essential services. The Adams administration says better than expected tax revenue, as well as efforts to reduce migrant spending, have helped put the city in a better path financially.
So I'm on Team Eric Adams here, kind of am. I haven't seen this indictment. I don't know what it alleges, but I see this and I'm like, Eric Adams is not playing ball. you know, a lot of the United States, most of Americans are very concerned with what's going on with all these illegal immigrants. Eric Adams is like, I mean, that's got to take some guts to do, right? As mayor, stand up and be like, hey, I'm not going along with this stuff. That is the Democrat agenda. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows the Democrats want more illegal immigrants to come into the United States for whatever reason, whether it be for low-wage workers or illegal voters. And Eric Adams, it seems to be, was looking out for the city of New York. And he even slashed the funding, because why would you have all this funding for foreigners when your own city is going to crap? These are illegals from other countries, while your own citizens would be suffering from budget cuts. So instead, he cut the budget of the legal immigrants. And then just a few months later, actually not even a few months later, just like a month later, federal probes started going into his campaign, into his office. And then a few months later, he's indicted. And I'm not sure if he's been arrested yet, but he is. From what I've read, he's going to be arrested. But even New York Post is talking about this mayor, Eric Adams' term has been mired by squabbles with the White House over migrant influx and border crisis. Eric Adams, who was federally indicted Wednesday, has spent the latter end of his first term mired in battles with the White House over the migrant crisis, with Hisner lobbying repeated accusations. I don't even know. What does that even mean? With Hisner? What is a Hisner? That President Biden has left the Big Apple to fend for itself. Help is not on the way, Adams told reporters after meeting with Biden to discuss the crisis back in December 2023. And ever since, his rhetoric toward the White House has only grown grimmer. The national government has turned its back on New York City, he said months later, adding that every service in this city is going to be impacted by the asylum seeker crisis. Very vocal about this. Very vocal. Those comments were just a few in a long chorus of complaints about the Biden administration from an increasingly frustrated Adams, who at one point called on New Yorkers to march on D.C. over migrants being shipped by the thousands to the Big Apple. The city spent at least $5.5 billion on the migrant crisis as of August, which has gone towards housing more than 250,000 migrants since 2022. The crisis is expected to cost the city upwards of $12 billion. Keep in mind, these are all foreigners. You're paying for someone else's citizens. New York, in other cities, we see it with the Haitians in Springfield, Ohio. And they like to call it asylum seekers. No, these are fake asylum seekers. When you have millions upon millions upon millions of asylum seekers, at some point you got to be like, maybe we should inspect and raise the standard for what an asylum seeker can come over into our country for. Or, like Donald Trump did, the Remain in Mexico policy. If you're going to seek asylum, we can check out your case, but you got to remain in Mexico, which is what the Biden administration stripped from law as soon as he got into office, the Biden-Harris administration. City Hall estimates that amount represents about 69% of the total cost for the migrant crisis, while the state will absorb 30%. The federal government, meanwhile, is only expected to cover 1% of it. So the federal government is essentially the one at fault. And this is probably why he is so vocal about it. He's saying, hey, the federal government is stabbing us in the back. They're only covering 1% of the cost of dealing with these illegal migrants. The city is the city of New York, 69% they're supposed to cover. The state is going to cover 30%, and the federal government whose fault it is that this is happening, is only covering 1%. Adams has called Washington's refusal to fork over more cash baffling, explaining how over the course of numerous meetings with the Biden administration, he has failed to be given a concrete commitment for greater help. I am lost. I am confused on this topic on why we still, almost 20 months later, we're still talking about this issue, and it has inundated the city. He said that we, New York City, are past our breaking point. The city has claimed sanctuary city status for decades, meaning it refuses to cooperate with federal immigration officials. Even when migrant fugitives are identified, and it was codified under Adams' predecessor, Mayor Bill de Blasio. Yeah, what a weirdo, Bill de Blasio. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of team Eric Adams here. I got a little bit of respect for Eric Adams. I think he recognized this issue, and he had the courage to stand up and start talking about it. Visit the southern border, make it an issue, call out White House, call out the Biden administration, ask questions. And unfortunately, when you have courage, sometimes that courage gets you shot down, and that's what's happening here, I believe. I mean, I guess I don't have all the details, guys. I just don't believe in coincidences in politics. When the one guy in New York City is standing up and talking about this, he's the mayor. They don't want him being mayor anymore. We saw what happened with Donald Trump and all of his indictments and trials in New York. As much of a sham as they were, you don't think that they can come down with some BS federal charges and federal indictments on Eric Adams? And he's probably got more skeletons in his closet than Donald Trump does, by far. So, good luck to Eric Adams. He seems to be, I don't want to say one of the good ones, but he seems to be better than most, okay? Maybe he should join with Tulsi Gabbard in endorsing Donald Trump. Maybe he should. We could have another Republican or another Democrat in the Republican ranks. That'd be good. But moving on, guys. Kamala Harris did an interview on MSNBC. And I had several clips that I was going to play you from this interview. But instead, Jesse Waters, he did a really good job of kind of covering this, doing a pretty good overview of this interview. So we're going to listen to this instead. Here's Jesse Waters talking about the disastrous Kamala Harris interview. Listen.
It took over 2 months for Kamala Harris to finally sit down for her first solo interview on a major news network. And she decided to do the interview with this lady.
I just said I'm not going to vote for her.
She's not running for perfect. She's running against Trump. We have two choices. And so there are some things you might not know her answer to. And in 2024, unlike 2016 for a lot of the American people, we know exactly what Trump will do, who he is, and the kind of threat he is to democracy.
The problem that a lot of people have with Kamala is we don't know her answer to anything, okay?
But you know his answer to everything.
Kamala heard that and said, "What are you doing Wednesday?" Stephanie Ruhle is a business analyst on NBC. She's a Trump hater. And the interview focused on the economy, something Kamala can't talk about because if she said what her plan was, she'd lose in a landslide.
For those who say these policies aren't for me, what do you say to them?
Well, if you are hardworking, if you have the dreams and the ambitions and the aspirations of what I believe you do, you're in my plan. You know, I have to tell you, I really love and am so energized by what I know to be the spirit and character of the American people. We have ambition. We have aspirations. We have dreams. We can see what's possible. We have an incredible work ethic.
Yes, girl.
But not everyone has the access to the opportunities that allow them to achieve those things. My vision for the economy, I call it an opportunity economy, is about making sure that all Americans, wherever they start, wherever they are, have the ability to actually achieve those dreams and those ambitions. I come from the middle class. Look, my mother raised my sister and me. She worked hard. She saved up. By the time I was a teenager, she was able to buy our first home. And, home ownership for too many people in our country now is elusive. Gone is the day of everyone thinking they could actually live the American dream.
Kamala was just asked about her policies. She rambled and then said the American dream is gone. She's been in power for 4 years and said the American dream's gone. She just sank her campaign. But that was just the beginning.
How do you go after price gouging without implementing price controls? Because once we get in this zone, people start to get worried and they say, I don't know what she stands for.
So just to be very frank, I am never going to apologize for going after companies and corporations that take advantage of the desperation of the American people. Yeah, I'm going to go after them. Yes, I'm going to go after them.
So price controls are still on the table. That's not going to fly in this country. What about trade policy?
Tariffs aren't unique to President Trump. President Biden has tariffs in place. He's actually looking to potentially implement more. Where do you come out on? Is there a good tariff, a bad tariff?
Well, part of it is you don't just throw around the idea of just tariffs across the board, and that's part of the problem with Donald Trump. Frankly, I'm going to, and I say this in all sincerity, he's just not very serious about how he thinks about some of these issues. And one must be serious.
One must. Why does she talk like this? One must be serious. I hope he plays it. I haven't watched this entire clip. I watched like 3/4 of it earlier, and it was really good. But there's a point in this interview where she talks about, I forgot what the question was, but she answers it and she says holistically 3 times in like the space of a few seconds. Talk about a holistic approach to a problem. You might play it here. If not, I'll find it, but listen.
Plan, any real plan that's not just about some talking point ending in an exclamation at a political rally, but actually putting the thought into what will be the return on the investment and what will be the economic impact on everyday people.
They just asked her what her trade plan was. She never answered and then said Trump doesn't have one, and then never explained what her plan was. Trump's not serious about trade. He's deadly serious. He won a trade war with China, passed the new NAFTA deal, signed new trade deals with South Korea and Japan. He used tariffs to bring countries to the negotiating table. And we had a great economy with no inflation. I don't know if Kamala Harris knows this, but the Biden-Harris administration kept Trump's tariffs on China, then increased them. Kamala was then asked how she's going to help Americans buy homes they can't afford since inflation drove mortgage rates so high.
Some of the work is going to be through what we do in terms of giving benefits and assistance to state and local governments around transit dollars and looking holistically at the connection between.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. This was my favorite part. I got to go back. Okay. Oh, by the way, before I play this, what the heck is going on in the background? Can anybody tell me? What are they at? Some sort of, you guys see this? What is this, a construction site? You got a ladder. You got just lumber lying around. It looks like a half-finished building. Is she trying to appeal to blue-collar workers by sitting at a construction site and doing an interview? Did you guys notice this? Look behind her. Look kind of in the background. It's literally, Ravenwing says someone's basement. Yeah. Someone's basement. Maybe this is the basement that they were hiding Joe Biden in when he was running for president. Maybe this is it. But listen to her talk about her new favorite, or use her new favorite word. You know, she just learned this word, I'm sure. So she's got to use it a lot. You know, whenever you learn a new word. You want to get it integrated into your vocabulary, right? And then you start using it a lot in every situation that you can use it just so you remember it and it comes second nature to you. This is what it sounds like Kamala Harris is doing with the word holistic. Listen.
And looking holistically at the connection between that and housing, and looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state governments to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner that includes prioritizing affordable housing.
I have no idea.
Oh, I love it. See, this is what I mean. The American people needed to see. I was talking to a veteran biker the other day, and he was like, I don't get why more creators, more, talk show hosts or whatnot, content creators aren't going after Kamala Harris. It's like, well, because she's not doing any interviews. I said, but as soon as she starts going out there and actually giving interviews, the content and the attacks against Kamala Harris are going to flood in because there's going to be a lot of stuff to go over. Because all she has to do is talk, and just the way she talks is just goofy. It's like she doesn't have an entire grasp on what she's saying. It's like she has somewhat of a grasp, but she really doesn't quite get it, I said that she sounds like a loopy ant almost. Maybe she is on Xanax. I don't know. I don't know what it is. She seems just a little bit spacey, and that's just not a good look. Americans don't want a little bit spacey president, I don't. So she comes out, she gives this interview. She seems a little bit spacey. That's just who she is. That's just who Kamala Harris is. We've always said if she comes out and gives just regular interviews, it's over for her. And that's kind of what happened. She did not do a good job. It seems like this interview was unscripted, which is surprising to me because it was on MSNBC. It was not a combative interview, I would say, at all. This is on friendly turf, and she performed this way. Imagine if she actually had a combative interview, what would happen? It would be disastrous times 1,000. But let's listen to the rest of this.
No idea what she just said. I have no idea. But it sounds like she's going to print more money and give it away. Then Kamala was asked, how's she going to pay for all of these handouts?
Giving that extra money for a first home. If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control of the Senate, where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just it. It's about paying their fair share.
But how do you find that line to make sure corporations are paying their fair share, but they're not leaving our country?
Well, listen, I work with a lot of CEOs. I have spent a lot of time with CEOs, and I'm going to tell you that the business leaders who are actually part of the engine of America's economy.
I bet she spent a lot of time with CEOs. I bet you have, Kamala.
Agree that people should pay their fair share.
Again, she didn't answer the question. Even if she raises taxes on everybody, it still won't pay for the trillions she wants to spend. Obama already raised taxes, and the middle class got hammered. Obama raised taxes, and corporations left the country and took their factories with them. That's how Trump got elected. How is she going to stop companies from leaving? Because she knows a bunch of CEOs? Their lobbyists are just going to write loopholes in the bill that she signs. After the interview, Stephanie Ruhle called Harris a dodger.
Here's what's a little tricky. She doesn't answer the question around if the GOP is controlling the Senate, if she can't raise corporate taxes, where is she going to get the money from?
And the interview was just as staged as all of her answers. There's a sander with no sawdust in the back and a ladder in the middle of nowhere. What's that doing there? No idea.
I wonder if that's a green screen. I don't know. I don't really think so. It looks, usually you can tell a little bit if it's a green screen. It doesn't look too much like a green screen. It could be. If it is, it's a very good green screen. This is, I have a green screen. I mean, obviously you guys probably can tell. I don't have a city behind me. It's always the same. But I do wonder if that's a green screen or if that's actually real. I don't know. It's just odd. Sander, lumber. It kind of reminds me of when she gave her other interview. Was it ABC? I forget what it was. Where the first interview, CNN, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it was CNN, where they were in this cafe type setting where there were literal coffee cups sitting around on tables, and everything around her kind of looked awry. Is that how you say it? Awry? I wonder if they're intentionally doing it like that to cause maybe middle-class people to look at her as if she's one of them. Kind of maybe subconsciously in their mind, they see the lumber, the half-finished basement-looking environment. They're like, oh, she's just like us. You know, the blue-collar worker from, I don't know, Wisconsin or Michigan sees that. Oh, yeah, that's what my basement looks like right now. I need to finish that. Maybe subconsciously that does something to their minds. I don't know. These psychologists that work for these politicians, they do some weird stuff, and there's reasons why. This is not random. Nothing that they do is random. They do it very specifically for a very specific reason.
Today, Trump in North Carolina zeroing in on American working men and women. He's been much more disciplined the last week and a half, more upbeat and more focused on the future.
The centerpiece of my plan for a manufacturing renaissance will be a 15% made in America tax rate. I'm imposing tariffs on your competition from foreign countries that have ripped us off, which stole all of your businesses and all of your jobs years ago and took your businesses out, so that now they won't be able to compete with North Carolina. All of your furniture.
Okay. Then he goes into some Trump stuff. But that was the interview. It was pretty bad. And then afterwards, the interviewer, whose name is Stephanie Ruhle, Ruhle, I thought she did a halfway decent job during the interview. You know, as decent as it could be. But after the interview, she kind of ran damage control for Kamala Harris. Listen to what she says here when she's talking to, I forgot his name, this other guy.
Work.
Listen.
And one could watch that and say, well, she didn't give a
Chris Hayes, I think his name is. Listen.
Work. And one could watch that and say, well, she didn't give a clear, direct answer. That's okay, because we are not talking about clear or direct issues.
That's okay? Do you hear what she's saying?
Issues. Answer. That's okay. Work. And one could watch that and say, well, she didn't give a clear, direct answer. That's okay, because we are not talking about clear or direct issues.
Why is she sitting here and telling everyone in America, yeah, I know she didn't answer my questions, but that's okay? What? I'm sorry, what? Why do you have to come on the news, talk to Chris, whatever his name here, Chris Hayes, and say this? Why do you find it incumbent upon yourself to do this? It's because MSNBC is propaganda. They know that was a bad look for Kamala Harris. They know that people are like, wait a second, she can't even answer a freaking question. They know that everyone's looking at her and like, she sounds really spacey. She's repeating words. It's kind of weird. Is she even a real person? What's going on here? Is she a robot that's glitching? You know, AI, it's not so advanced, to where everyone believes that Kamala Harris is a real human. No, I'm just kidding. I kid. I don't think Kamala Harris is AI. I think she's just... if you ask me, my personal opinion, I think she takes a lot of meds. I really do. She just seems spacey like that. I've been around people who have taken meds before, certain kinds, and they're a little spacey, a little breezy like this. They talk in these like syrupy tones and stuff like that. I'm just saying, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably Kamala Harris. Okay.
The question about inflation and prices, this to me is it's sort of one of the most frustrating aspects of this campaign. The thing that people are 100% correctly
So, yeah, that's just a short clip. Moving on, guys. Let's go to the Nathan Wade stuff. This is crazy. I don't even know what to think about this. So Nathan Wade is supposed to be subpoenaed. Or they're trying to subpoena him. They're trying to subpoena Nathan Wade. But they can't find the guy. He's missing. Listen.
Lover boy Nathan Wade is missing. The House Judiciary Committee, which is investigating Georgia DA Fani Willis, needs Wade to testify at a hearing tomorrow on their love affair. But no one can find the guy. They're trying to serve him, but he's flown the coop, and now the U.S. Marshals are in a manhunt to track him down.
Southern Sass. I think we were watching a movie and a lot of actors. You know, that's what I was thinking last night. When all these things happen, boom, 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 all at once. I saw the Melania Trump interview dropped, and I saw Eric Adams get indicted. I saw what was going on with Kamala Harris's her interview, Joe Biden in his interview on The View, and then to top it all off, this is like the cherry on the what is it? The frosting on the cake, not the cherry on top of the sundae. Okay, the frosting on the cake. Nathan Wade is missing. Where's Nathan Wade at? Where's my boy at? Let's figure this out. They're writing about this over here on the Washington Examiner. And they go, Nathan Wade, nowhere to be found as House Republicans attempt to subpoena him. House Republicans planned to escalate their investigations into Nathan Wade, a former special prosecutor. You guys know him. They wanted to subpoena him. But Wade appears to be missing in action. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan has ordered Wade in a subpoena reviewed by the Washington Examiner to appear Thursday for the closed-door interview as part of the committee's investigation into Fani Willis. However, Wade has been unresponsive. It's kind of weird, right? You know, Fani Willis has a lot of power over there. There's a lot of gang activity, you know, in the Atlanta area. Maybe they wanted to silence him for good. Maybe that's what's going on. Hey, I'm not making any accusations. I'm just saying it's a possibility. They can't find the guy, okay? They can't find the guy. And he's not particularly articulate. He's not very articulate. Okay? Remember when he gave that interview, I think it was to CNN, and they asked him a question. He started getting into some of the stuff. He started to talk, and then the consultants had literally had to pause the entire interview, pull him aside, and consult with him and tell him what to say before he went back to the interview. Now, his consultants probably thought that part would be cut out of the interview that played on live TV, but it wasn't. They showed the whole thing. Maybe they don't want him actually going into one of these hearings and running his mouth because he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Okay. So he has been unresponsive to the subpoena, and his silence has led Jordan to take the unusual step of asking the U.S. Marshals Service to try and locate Wade in Georgia to serve him, according to a committee spokesperson. Nathan Wade's evasion of service is extremely unusual and will require the committee to spend U.S. tax dollars to locate him. A Republican lawyer familiar with the matter said that the U.S. Marshals Service has not been able to find Wade, and at this point, we know he's trying to avoid service. The lawyer called Wade's actions clearly dilatory. Wade's office did not respond to the request for comment from the Washington Examiner. Wade's apparent avoidance on the subpoena comes after two one-time advisors to former President Donald Trump, Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, were imprisoned this year, each with 4-month sentences for failing to comply with House-issued subpoenas relating to the January 6th Capitol riot. And then most of you guys probably know the whole story with Nathan Wade and Fani Willis. It's a long story. I'm not going to get into it. I've covered hours upon hours upon hours about this story. Back in my Firebrain Media days, we live streamed all the court proceedings from this. Fani Willis, Nathan Wade, his business partner. It's pretty wild. So I wonder what's going on there. Oh, Nathan Wade. He's either silenced for good or he flew the coop. Don't know which it is. I think either could be plausible, honestly. There's a lot at stake with Fani Willis, and I don't think she's the nicest person ever. Very corrupt, I believe. But moving on, speaking of terrible people, Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban has suddenly become Kamala Harris's biggest spokesperson. He went on CNN. He was talking to Jake Tapper, and he said that he wanted to be the head of the SEC. Listen.
But I ask you, Mark, whether you would entertain being a Treasury Secretary, Commerce Secretary in a Harris
head
administration.
Of the SEC. Head of the SEC. That's the job I would take. Donald Trump, being the socialist that he is, had to beat Bernie. So Donald Trump went out and recommended that interest rate caps be set to 10%. The fact that he's even suggesting price controls and price caps is socialism 101.
So he calls Donald Trump a socialist, and he goes on, I guess when he actually talked about wanting to be the head of SEC, he was on Fox News. Then he says he wants to be the head of SEC for Kamala Harris's administration. I don't know what's going on with Mark Cuban. I think he is a little bit jealous of Elon Musk, maybe. I think that's what's going on. And he claims that Elon Musk is backing and endorsing Donald Trump only because Elon Musk wants to manipulate him. That's what he claims. Said this on MSNBC. Listen.
Well, and it's such a bad bet. I mean, how do you explain any of your peers in business standing with him? His policies are anti-growth, they're protectionist, and his instability seems like the greatest liability any democracy or any economy could contemplate.
Well, most people don't look at the big picture, right? You've got some of the Silicon Valley bros, right? The hardcore tech people like Elon that I truly believe think they can manipulate him, right? It's happened before where people wanted to be the adult in the room.
See, these people like Mark Cuban, these Machiavellian type personalities like Mark Cuban, I don't think they understand that, people could actually believe in something seriously, like Elon Musk. I believe that Joe Rogan was a big influence on Elon Musk. I really do. I'm not saying that Elon Musk never had these ideas before, but Joe Rogan has been talking about, free speech and the importance of that type of thing for a long time. It's something that he is very serious about. And Elon Musk has taken up that mantle. You don't just spend $46 billion to buy X or to buy Twitter at the time. For nothing. And the slings and arrows that Elon Musk has suffered because he made Twitter essentially free speech, or at least it's the most free speech by far, by 1,000 miles, social media platform out there, other than, maybe something like Gab. I'm talking about like a really popular one. You don't just do that because you want to manipulate someone, or you want to get on or endorse Trump and his administration simply because you want to manipulate him. No, I believe he actually believes what he thinks, believes what he says. And Mark Cuban, I don't think he really understands this. It's not all about just the bottom line. Sometimes you got to think about stuff that's bigger than you. And I think that's who Elon Musk is. I think Elon Musk, he has a purpose that's bigger than him. I think he does care about the bottom line. I think he does understand business and what he needs to do to keep a business profitable. But at the same time, he has made it clear that there is a line that he will not cross when it comes to free speech. And I don't think Mark Cuban really understands that. He doesn't get that. He's like looking at Elon Musk, seeing all the popularity that Elon Musk has. He's like, what kind of game is Elon Musk playing? He's probably trying to figure it out. Oh, I know. He's trying to manipulate Donald Trump. He doesn't really support Donald Trump. Who could actually support Donald Trump? That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to manipulate him. And he cannot fathom that Elon Musk may just be concerned about the trajectory of the country, of our society. He cannot fathom that. That's not even one of the possibilities. These people, they're like Mark Cuban, they're always looking for an angle. They're always trying to figure out, like, what is this person doing? They don't have any. They don't have any purpose further than themselves. They're very selfish people. So, Mark Cuban, he is trying to be the knight in shining armor, the white knight for Kamala Harris, hoping that would pay off. That will pay off in the future. Let's hope not. Let's hope not. Moving on, just got a couple more things to talk about, guys. A delegate to the United States House of Representatives says some concerning things about what she claims is the role of the FBI and DOJ in the United States. This is Stacey Plaskett. This is what her understanding is of the role of the FBI and DOJ. Listen.
What is the point of this subcommittee? Because it's necessary for the public and the media to hear, to try, and provide cover for the eradication of the Department of Justice and the FBI. We are having these hearings so that you become immune. You become inured to the notion of the removal of the FBI and DOJ.
So basically right here, what is she saying? If I'm interpreting it correctly, there's a lot of people out here, myself included. I look at what's going on with the FBI and some of these organizations, and I'm like, what the heck? That's not what they're there for. And then I see the kind of power that they have and what they're doing with this power. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, this can't be fixed. You know, it's really hard to rein in power. At some point, you might just have to just nip it off in the bud, be like, all right, FBI, sorry, you're gone. I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay if the FBI was completely disbanded, completely gotten away with. And she's saying that this hearing that she's doing here is to get away with, to reverse that notion in people's minds. They can't fathom. They're like, well, why do people want to get rid of the FBI? Why do people think that? It's because they're going too far. They simply are. But this is what she says the FBI is for. Listen.
So that those agencies are no longer there to serve as a check against white nationalism, great replacement theorists.
Wait, great replacement theorists? The FBI is there to serve as a check against someone's opinion about what's going on with all of these immigrants coming over the border? That's what the FBI is there for? I thought the FBI was there to investigate crimes, federal crimes. I thought that's what they're there for. Not to worry about someone's opinion on how many immigrants are coming over the border, replacing natural-born citizens in the United States.
Christian nationalists, white fragility.
Wait, Christian nationalists? The FBI is there as a check against Christian nationalists? That's her understanding of what the FBI is supposed to be doing? And now she's wondering, people wonder why people want the FBI disbanded. Because this is not just a sentiment that exists in our representatives and some of our leaders and Democrats as a whole. But no, this is a sentiment that exists within the institution itself. They believe that they can enforce ideologies. They believe that they can simply tell people what to believe, and when they don't believe or when they don't comply, they can come down on them. That is not what the FBI is there for. The FBI is not there as a check against certain opinions or against people who may or may not be Christian nationalists. Since when? Mind-blowing.
Agility, fascists.
Oh, you forgot this one.
Fascists and the twice impeached white fragility.
White fragility. Recognize that one? But the best one of all, I don't know, that was pretty good.
Fascists and the twice impeached convicted felon, former president and would-be dictator Donald Trump.
So she just admitted, basically, that these organizations are there to politically persecute their opponents. That's what she's saying. That's her understanding of why these organizations exist. So that's she's not a representative herself. She is a delegate. A delegate to the United States House of Representatives. I think from the Virgin Islands or something like that. But just her understanding of what these institutions are there for is very concerning. And I think it kind of speaks to the broader sentiment amongst Democrats as to the use of these institutions and the extent of what they can be used for as a tool to go against dissent. Really what it seems like. Last thing we're going to talk about, guys, is Joe Biden. Really quick. He went on The View. I'm just going to go through these little clips really quick. He's really doing a lot of good campaigning for Donald Trump. Trump War Room released this, where Biden said that there wasn't a single thing that Kamala Harris couldn't do while she was his vice president, or I guess she still is, but as vice president, there's not a single thing she couldn't do, and not a single thing that he wasn't able to delegate to her. Very interesting. Listen.
And as vice president, there wasn't a single thing that I did that she couldn't do. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to delegate her responsibility on everything from foreign policy to domestic policy.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this.
Bill Phillips says 3-letter organizations are the new Gestapo. That's true. That is very true. And it's getting worse. Also, Whoopi Goldberg compared Donald Trump to a bug. And then Joe Biden pretends to squash that bug. Watch.
Then he just wouldn't go. He was like a bug. He just kept being there. He was like a bug right there. So you felt...
Okay. That's really funny, Joe Biden, especially after the second attempt on Donald Trump's life. And then finally, Joe Biden was asked if he was forced out of the race by Nancy Pelosi. Listen.
Did you feel that your hand was forced, and what is your relationship with Speaker Pelosi now?
Our relationship is fine. Look, I never fully believed the assertions that somehow there was this overwhelming reluctance of my running again. I didn't sense that. Mm-hmm. And although the polling, as I said, Biden's polling was different, the fact of the matter is my polling was about, we're always within range of beating this guy.
Yeah.
And, what I did was, I think there were, it makes sense. There were some folks who would like to see me step aside so they have a chance to move on. I get that. That's just human nature. But that wasn't the reason that I stepped down. I stepped down because I started thinking about it. You know, it's hard to think of, I know you're only 30, but it's hard to think of, it's hard for me to even say how old I am.
So he stepped down because he started to think about it. Oh, I bet he started to think about it. like Nancy Pelosi. Like she says, oh, he made his own decision. Yeah, just like you hold a gun to someone's head and say, do this or else. They make the decision, right? They make the decision to do what you want them to do or else they suffer the consequences. But at the end of the day, they make the decision. Okay. But anyways, let's get to the chat. How you guys doing? How we doing today? How are we doing today? Who we got in the chat? We got Mama Bear. Hi, Mama Bear. Thanks for joining us. Some of my great members. We got Trium Infinitum. Says, give him an ice cream. Yeah. Old Biden. But we got Michelle in the chat. Doing a fantastic job as mod. Hey, thanks, Michelle. Thanks for modding. Mama Bear says, liar, liar, pants on fire. That's right. Christy. We got Christy in the chat. We got Shayla in the chat. You look so refreshed this morning. Do I? I don't feel refreshed. Right before the show, I got off this, 1 hour service call with Meta. Guys, never again. Never again. Regarding a situation on my Instagram account. Okay. I saw a problem and I foolishly decided before the show I would contact support. Big mistake. I had to hang up in frustration with these people. I could barely understand the woman on the call. She was nice enough, but it's like one of those things like you guys know, like when you call like a support line and they always gotta, every time they try to answer a question, they got to repeat it back to you as if, to say like, oh, I understand what your problem is. And then the call gets lengthier and lengthier and lengthier. It's like, listen, you don't have to repeat everything I say back to me. We can just start at the real problem. And to top it all off, the call kept getting disconnected. It got disconnected 3 times. And every single time she would call back, she would repeat the same thing, like about the call being recorded, and it'd take like a minute or 2 for her to repeat it. I'm like, listen, you don't have to repeat that every single time. Can we just get to the issue I have with what's going on with my account? Guys, I kid you not, I was so frustrated. But yeah, took like an hour and a half. So yeah, that happened. Never calling Meta support line again. Even if I have an issue, I'll just deal with it. It's not worth it. Christy said those call center jobs should be brought back to the United States as well. Yeah, and honestly, it got so bad at one point. I'm like, am I talking to an AI representative? Is that's what I thought? I was like, are you AI? Because they do have those now, where it's like basically a sales representative or a support rep, where you're talking to an AI person. And she was like, no, I'm not AI. And honestly, I'm kind of 50-50 on it now. I'm not sure. She might be AI. I'm not really sure. It was a little bit odd. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Ed says that is a call center. You need to set all the script. Otherwise, you fail the QA score. Oh, okay. Probably she did explain that. I said, you don't have to repeat all of that stuff. She was like, I have to. And I was like, okay, but I got a show coming up. I can't sit here listening to you repeat all of this stuff for the 5th time to me. Let's just get at the root of my problem and let's try to figure this out. And it was very frustrating, extremely frustrating. What else? What else we got in here? Bill Phillips says it's for their own recordings. Yeah, that's what she explained to me. But when it's like for the third time, the call drops on her end and she calls me back and says the same line that takes like 2 minutes to complete. And I'm, under a time crunch. I'm just like, listen, can we not do this again? My ears were bleeding. I wanted to throw my phone. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't get that upset. I was frustrated, though. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hanging out this morning. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If you could, please, before we get off the show, off the stream, you could leave a like on this video. And also, if you'd like to support the show, I have my links down below. Make sure you go to mypillow.com. Cop yourself one of those pillows. $14.98. Very good price for one of those pillows. Use promo code UNWOKE to get that deal. Deal's not going to last forever. But go and do that. Go check that out. And if you haven't yet, consider subscribing. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your day. We'll see you on the next one. God bless.